exciting, challenging. Pick 5 is the most important piece. You got to get the first one right. It's a pivotal moment for the organization. You guys all know where we're at. I think it's a good moment for us. Staff's working extremely hard. There's a good blend of high school players in this group, a good blend of college position players, and most importantly, still 2 college pitchers involved in the process. So we're excited, working hard. We still have no view who even may get to 5 at this point. So we are working hard, multiple directions, but we understand what 5 means to us. So.
What's the overall talent pool like in this draft? Is there?
I think when you look at the first round, everybody's always going to gauge the draft by the first round. I still look, when I look at the draft board, I see 12 to 15 really good players that can define a draft that are going to be worthy of being first rounders. I do think there's a little bit of fall off once you get past the top 15. Where if you're picking at the bottom of the first round, that can get a little bit cloudy for you. So I do think that's interesting, but I do think there's 12 to 15 really good players in this draft.
Fans might look at the team and the state of the team in the minor leagues and think you need to pick a certain position. What do you guys look at in terms of what you want with that number 5 pick?
I think it's always important you know where your organization stands. I mean, you have to know where your strengths and weaknesses lie, what you're really good at development, what you feel good about. But I don't think any one draft defines a major league team, nor should you draft based off what your major league team needs. I think you have to be prepared in multiple directions. We still, even at pick 5, we have no idea who's going to go 1. So we are still working on 10 players up there significantly to get ready for this. The financial aspect of how the pool works in the draft is important. I do think there's some equivalency in the first 10 players of the draft. And personally, I don't see a bunch of separation. I do think you have to work on about 10 players and what's the value of a guy who you think is equivalent, who may be $1 million cheaper, who you could possibly get a deal with. This is something we're really working hard at. So,
a lot of people often said this is a year for college position players. Do you see it like that?
I do see that. There are some really good college position players. I think it's really important to understand where amateur baseball has gone. The SEC, the big conferences, they've invested in baseball significantly. The training model, how they've invested in the athlete, it's starting to produce revenues. And so they've invested in these players. And these players are more developed than they've ever been at the college level. But it's tricky. I think all the mock drafts, all the things that are going on, the performance at the college level may be a touch inflated. So I do think that's gotten in the way of everybody. Everybody sees all the large home run numbers. Our job is to weed through that and make a quality decision on the depth of this draft, which is the college position players.
Is it easier, Mike, to be able to determine what a pitcher may be rather than, I know the injury factor comes into play there a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
But when you look at him and you go, he's hitting with a metal bat, it's so hard to hit in Major League Baseball now. How do we really project this?
I still think for me, the biggest challenge for me, the part that I love is the mechanical aspect of evaluating hitters, right? So I always feel good about how the operation works. What is the effort level of the operation on the hitter? Most importantly, is he a contact guy? Is he a power guy? What are you chasing out of the profile? What are you trying to acquire with the profile? At 5, obviously, we're trying to get a hit and a power tool, both involved, with great swing decisions and strike zone management. That's always going to be the most difficult part of the draft. But I think there are candidates up there that touch all those spaces for us, and I think we'll have a choice of some of these really good players. But your first question on the pitching, yeah, sometimes you feel more secure what the college pitcher is doing at the moment. They can translate. And I think the 2 famous names are Hagen Smith and Chase Burns. If you look at those young pitchers, it's big time stuff. They have a chance to move here quickly. They're going to help a major league club more rapidly. And why, there's a part of how long would you want to leave them in the minor leagues anyway. I think the Paul Skeens effect is interesting and what's going on in the game today. You saw rapidly he's made an impact for a club. Both these guys touch some significant points in terms of their stuff. Both have 2 secondary weapons that are, both their sliders, both Chase and Hagen have wipeout sliders that are interesting.
So the crochet path might have been different if it wasn't for COVID, right? That could have been quickly, we're going to make him a starter, right?
That's a great point for the scouting staff as a whole. I think Garrett, we always thought Garrett was a starter from a scouting standpoint. I've said this in previous teams. When Garrett was a young man, he was a strike thrower. I mean, he didn't have stuff. He learned how to pitch before he had the stuff. As his stuff came along, he could always revert back to the skill set of putting the ball in the zone. And I think what Garrett's been able to do for this organization this year in a given opportunity, it says who we thought Garrett was. And most importantly, Garrett really invested in himself. We're close. I'm proud of him. It's a great moment for the White Sox, for the scouting staff, for everyone that invested in Garrett and believed in him. So it's a good moment.
Could you go pitcher at 5, or do you think it's going to be a position player?
It's still wide open. I mean, when I tell you we're looking at 10 players, we are still up there working hard at 10 players, and both those two pitchers do matter to us, and we are looking hard at both those pitchers.
With factoring where the organization's at, when you drafted Garrett, it was a win-now team. He winds up helping it right away. Knowing that, can you take a longer development project with where the organization's at right now?
I think so. You have to take the best player who you think all these things add up. I do think, but I also think, what's a longer development path at 5? I think even if we chose to go the high school route, you anticipate those guys being here in like 3.5 years. It's not as long as as it used to be. It's going to take 5. I think even on the high school player, you want them to move fast. I mean, I think look at Colson was old when we took him. Colson's a really good player, and I think how fast he's got to AAA, how fast he expedited his career, these guys can come quickly on you. So I don't, and I've told you all along, I love high school players. My favorite part of the job. I think they can get here quicker than today because all the development training that goes on in younger ages, they're more developed than they used to be.
How is the dynamic different for you this time now, Mike, with a new general manager? And the fact that every personality is different, everybody has a different type of voice for a scouting director. How's this different for you?
Well, Chris, I mean, obviously I've known Chris Getz for a long time. It's a relationship that we both trust each other. Chris wants to get this organization right. And he's investing so much into the process of building an organization that you don't all get to see every day. That's in scouting, that's in development, that's in our Latin operations. He's taking the broad spectrum of being a general manager, investing in the totality of the organization. He is fully invested in the draft. He's been a tremendous leader, taking the job, putting us all departments in the right direction. You may not see the output at the major league level right now. He's investing in all departments with his time, effort, and energy to build this place from the ground up, and that's important. And look, now I'm so gracious to the people that were here before Chris to give me a chance to do this. And those guys, a ton of respect for them and graciousness for them for the opportunity they gave me.
So is it still a fist fight?
Fist fight in the room? Yeah, it gets tough on there. You get emotional people who invest their lives in it. It can get challenging up in that room, as it should, right? People should want to fight for what they believe in and stand up. That's how you build conviction in players. That's also how you challenge each other as a staff. Both data analytics, performance, what we like to call research and development today, and then pure evaluations. We're doing all that up there.
How much does number 68 help you guys, adding that on?
I think it helps. It can help at 43 too. What if we think there's a significant piece to pay a little bit more for? 43 gives you a little bit more capital to spend. But we're trying to get as many great shots on goal as we can. How many more additional pieces can we add to a puzzle to make a difference? We got to build tomorrow. Our job is to build tomorrow and keep investing in tomorrow, so we're good and get out of the some of the space we're in right now.
So it really is like a puzzle for you guys. I mean, you look at all of them and you try to fit the money in and fit what you
we're
need.
Trying, and that's what I mean about what 5 can mean for you. I look at like last year. What George Walcow's doing right now, we only get him because Jacob Gonzalez we had a little space there. So we invested in Jacob cheap at a discounted rate in some ways to get to buy what George is becoming or what's happening now. That is the way you have to be prepared to do this, And Jerry's been great. Jerry Reinsdorf has been great about giving us you get a 5% overage. Jerry's invested in the club that way. He's never been afraid to put his dollars and he's been truly supportive of us building a better tomorrow. So
last year you take Jacob, he struggles looking apples at first, but he goes through biomechanical analysis, cleans up some stuff in his leg drive, and takes off. Do you factor that in with some of the projects here of like, hey, we can make a fix here?
I think it's part of the job.
Kind of Griffin that way.
I think it's part of the job in terms of what we thought Jacob could become. We didn't think that was the finished product, and we got touched a lot. Oh, how'd you take Jacob? Well, we believed in what Jacob could become, not what he was, and we knew what an intelligent baseball player he was and how competitive he was. He wasn't part of a national championship team. He wasn't a starter of Team USA. He hadn't accomplished so many things in life without being extremely competitive and having a straight skill set and mindset for the game of baseball. And I think we're starting to see that. I mean, you have to. This is not as perfect as it needs to be. He's one of the better performers of that draft class right now, and we're proud of that for Jacob.
What sort of opportunity is this at 5 for the organization to add another like top of the line guy like some of the guys that folks are seeing in the minor leagues?
It's pivotal. I mean, it's pivotal right now. I think we all feel good what's happening in the minor leagues. To add this piece of what 5 could possibly be to the next wave of this is substantial. It's a must. I understand where we're at. I think the security has asked me, this is a pivotal. All the way to Pedro's told me it's pivotal. Jerry's told me it's pivotal. We all know how pivotal this is to get this right.
Is there any more pressure because of the new funky way this thing works, and next year the highest you can pick is 10?
It's out of our control.
I know, but there is, it's a reality that you have to look at.
I think, I mean, you have to be realistic, but I mean, hopefully there's 10 good players in the draft next year. I mean, I think at the end of the day, we know we're picking next year. Probably will be 10. You hope there's 10 good players. That process has already started about looking at next year's draft and getting right. Yeah, it's not fair, but it's out of our control. Get 5 right, get 10 right, get every pick right, get every draft right.
That's still a chance to add a really good player, though, right? I mean, it's someone like Garrett is showing it doesn't have to be a top 5 selection to be an impact. Yeah.
You have to be. The job is to be good at wherever you pick. We all know what the Major League Baseball draft is. It's a challenge, but that group upstairs, the people on our staff, the support of management, the support of ownership, it's our job to get it right. We'll get it right. We'll work hard to do that.
You see a guy like Walco go on a tear like this so young. You have to be careful not to get too excited about it, or how do you tell him, how do you deal with what he's going through?
Well, first off, what success can do for a young player, it can pave the road for him to keep driving a car. You can never discount what success means. You start tapping into it, you realize, what did I accomplish? What am I able to do? I think George has got the mindset. It's extremely mature. I think that George has a chance to be a significant player. There's still a learning curve that's going to happen, but we gave that kid, we invested in George because we believed he was capable of doing some of the things that he has shown.
We had Caglianone, is that how you pronounce his name?
Yeah, Jack Caglianone.
Yeah, in here, and obviously you've had other ones in here, but could he, if he fell to you at 5 and you decided to take him to Worktown, could he do both? Could he?
Yeah, I think there's a part of, we're investigating whether it can be a two-way player. I think we'd be foolish not to do that. He's done it his whole life. His baseball acumen, his baseball repertoire has been built being a two-way player. I think that's something we will continue to look at and see if that's best. But obviously we prefer the bat over the pitching, but remember, even if he could throw once or twice a week to save his staff, stretch his staff, that could be beneficial to the club.
That's possible for like a young guy coming up to do that?
Jack thinks it's possible. He was clearly stated he thinks he can do it. I think we'll investigate every avenue to make sure that's an opportunity that we could capitalize on.
You feeling good about that Noah Schultz pick right now?
Future game, him and Colson going to the future game, that's awesome. Local kid, hoping he fills seats up. People want to come see him pitch. He's a real piece. I think the first time I saw him pitch, he's like 15 or 16. That breaking ball he's got that lands in the strike zone all the time, it's a weapon. We're excited about what Noah's going to become. He's a real part of our future.
As the combine's been going a few years now, how has it kind of expanded in the role it plays in your draft prep?
Well, I think the experience of it is important. You start to understand what strength and conditioning, the data analysis on some of the non-baseball activities, what the athlete what you can capture in some of their movement patterns. The interviews are the most important piece. Diving into the player, putting in every player through the equivalency of the interview process where everybody's on the same page. Learning more, having the time to invest with those players is critical. That's still the most important piece, and it's been awesome. It's been great for us.
The system is strong in pitching, and also it seems like position players have been a little hard to pry in trades. Is that something, even beyond number 5, you have to factor in a little bit in terms of building that out in the system?
Our preference is position players at this point, just because I think that's something we're looking hard at. But I mean, we'll see. I think you got to keep adding to the arms. You can never have enough arms, so I think that's something you got to continue to invest in. We do huge historical dive on the draft. Where do position players come from? What rounds do they come from? Where can you capture them? We're always aware of what the historical value of the draft means. You have to look at all these contexts where you can get value. So we're working our ass off on that part.
Oh, this guy, he didn't draft. This is the guy. I'm sorry. You want to have?
No, go ahead.
I was going to say you didn't. This is the guy you didn't draft, but Riley Gallons. Like he's a guy who didn't have his eye-popping college stats,
Right.
But he's moving up with you guys. How would you?
I mean, that's a great piece of the trade we got from Atlanta. I think he's surprising and keep developing his skill set. I mean, to be determined, but he has made a lot of traction. And sometimes, remember, when you change organizations, you get a fresh face, you're wanted. Sometimes your trade, you think your values goes up because mentally, hey, this team wants me. It expedites careers. Guys get moving forward. He's done a nice job for us. Another good piece of a pitching puzzle that's growing for us rapidly.
Just thinking off the top of my head, Crochet and Cannon, those are both guys who were throwing breaking balls that they didn't have when you were scouting them. Do you almost have to scout, kind of ability to spin it more than specific pitches?
I think spin metrics they're a huge part of the evaluation process today. I would argue on the Garrett thing. I felt like I saw that slider at Tennessee. Phil Gully, our air scout, felt like he saw that slider at Tennessee. Jonathan Cannon had 5 pitches at Georgia. One of the reasons why we invested and believed in Jonathan Cannon is his repertoire to take and move the ball amongst multiple quadrants and be as intelligent as he is. It's paid off, and I think Jonathan's another good piece of a draft puzzle we've done. The scouting department did a good job. Player development's done a great job.
We all silly like the mayor.